there is a lot on the line. And it's not just one match of Magic. It could be up to 3 because it is first to 2 match wins, not game wins. So there's going to be plenty of opportunities to prove themselves. We saw Jessie in the semifinals, that top 4, absolutely steamroll her teammate for the event, Ellen Bogan, in the 150 card mirrors. And we will see if she can get it done one more time against Raja, who is, I'd say, the commentator's favorite. There's probably more people picking Raja, I think, than Jessie. But either way, Jessie has put on quite a performance so far today. She kicks it off with a Mishra's Bauble.
Yeah, out of our 7 staff picks, Raja was the only one to receive more than 1 vote. He got 3. But Jessie Robkin did receive Mason Clark's. She was Mason Clark's choice to win the event. And we see on the board here with Ragavan early. So regardless of the outcome of this match, Jessie will have choice of format for match number 2. So we'll just throw that out there right now so you know what's upcoming next. But obviously,
the start here has to be really good, right, for Jessie. Like, that one's going to get underneath counter spell. And of course, Raja has multiple removal spells for it. Things like Leyline Binding and Prismatic Ending that can take care of it. But if he doesn't have one of those, he's put to the test right now. If he doesn't have one of those, things can start to snowball very quickly with the powerful little 1-drop Bant and Legacy.
Right. I mean, yeah, Raja's not going to be blocking it with anything. So removing this thing is kind of crucial. This is, the ideal opening. I think for any deck that has Ragavan in it, you want it on turn 1. And we see that here. Maybe not the scam deck, but that's not in play here, so don't worry about that. So so Ragavan turns on Mox.
There is that very important Prismatic Ending, a huge card for him to have.
But not this time. All right. Is there a backup? Is there a dash Ragavan to follow? Let's see. What does Jessie have in store for us? I mean, there's also Red and 6 available. There's all kinds of powerful early plays in this deck.
Right. And Jessie clearly has some kind of options, right? Like, she's doing a fair bit of thinking here. Maybe a Bauble among the mix. I think I see a Red and 6. That one got to be pretty attractive to get down before Counterspell mana is available. Maybe thinking about bobbling first, but then maybe your fetch line's wasted. I'm not really sure. Oh, no, it's a Mox Amber instead.
All right. That's always nice when you have free additional mana early game, especially if you can drop Red and 6 here and then still have a mana up. That's excellent for Jessie. Although I think there's things like Unholy Heat in hand, which are certainly not a priority in this matchup. For creatures anyway. I guess picking up Planeswalkers is nice. But again, we'll see if
picking up Planeswalkers is huge. I mean, we've seen Raja flush with Planeswalkers multiple times. I imagine Heats are going to do a good job taking care of those as Jessie does a quick fetch and shock. Have to imagine the Ren and 6 coming down here. Going to be a potential problem for Raja, as that card very well known for its ability to accrue card advantage via picking up lands. And if you can get to picking up Sagas, then you're in a great spot. We saw that happen to great effect against her teammate in the semifinals.
All right, here is Red and 6. It's in play. It picks up the Scalding Tarn, so Jessie is +1 card already, and does actually have mana for. There is another Ragavan, so the Mox Amber does make itself useful.
A huge turn for Jessie, being able to have that Mox Amber. I mean, literally functions as a, it's Mox Ruby / Mox Emerald, right? Able to immediately make mana with Red and 6 in play and cast Ragavan, with Raja having to fetch yet another tap land just to kind of make Leyline Bindings and stuff work. Rafine's Tower, Spar's Headquarters, the 2 lands in play. I believe missing red, so Leyline Bindings will cost 2.
Yeah, well, 2 is not too bad of a price. The issue is, what do you remove? I mean, Archmage's Charm is a nice way to deal with Ragavan.
Take it. You don't need to remove anything. You can take it. But then, of course, red can pick it off, and then, you're really only removing a single loyalty, so maybe not the best approach. But if you play something like Teferi and pick up the Ragavan, it just gets dashed and kills it, so you have to, maybe Teferi tick up. The options get kind of awkward here for Raja.
Yeah, they do, certainly. I mean, when you're the control deck, obviously you're not, you want to be able to defend yourself, but turn 2, turn 3 is not your ideal spot. Raja wants to get to turn 6, turn 10, and really take over the game, where his more expensive cards can limit Jessie's opportunities. Here, she's capable of casting basically her whole hand. Raja's still limited by his land drops, and determining whether he's got a castle. It is the castle. It's going to pass. Okay, so Archmage Charm at the ready.
But this Ragavan a real problem. I mean, if Jessie just goes to combat first, what do you do? Do you let the Ragavan through and then try to Archmage's Charm on instep so the Ren can't take it? Then you're letting a trigger through, and if a Planeswalker comes off the top, you're suddenly in a ton of trouble. Things can go really badly for Raja if he doesn't move in combat. But then again, moving in combat also doesn't feel that good.
Yeah, this is so dangerous. There are a lot of very unpleasant things that can flip over here. Solitude, that's okay. That doesn't matter too much.
If Teferi Time Raveler or something like that came off the
Yeah.
top, that would be disastrous. Solitude, you know, whatever, maybe slightly annoying. He would have liked to have drawn that to take care of the Ragavan, but not super interested. Now we'll see if Jesse has any follow-up. No Saga here has to be a good sign for Raja, but he already kind of has his mana tied up for this turn cycle with answering just the Ragavan. So if Jesse presents anything that's like truly scary here and he has to counter it instead, the Ragavan's going to be allowed to keep going to work, and that's big, big bad news for Raja.
Yeah, so Jesse here contemplating, okay, Raja hasn't done anything yet. If she can present a threat here that he has to counter, then obviously the Ragavan maintains on her side, because she's got to be aware that Archmage's Storm is a possibility among the cards in Raja's hand. He does have 3 blue sources in play. Also,
There's 4 of them in his deck, right? This is very likely for him to have it.
Yeah, and also maybe she wants to hold off on using the Ren 6 until after she can play something else to see if she can get him to commit mana. Treasure is going to be used. Okay, so Grinding Station is the play off the Treasure.
Yeah, Grinding Station is in play. Don't think we did any milling there with the trigger. So, and oh wow, Boseiju targeting the Spar's headquarters.
That's interesting.
Oh,
so,
I think we may be starting to go off the lands right away, because we can pick that one right up with Red, and we just start downgrading all of Raja's lands until he doesn't have any triumphs left. Nasty.
All right, so he's going to float a mana. Jesse will pick up the Boseiju. He will still be able to grab the Ragavan if he still wants to.
Right.
And the Ren 6 has been used, so she will have to use Unholy Heat if she wants to get rid of it, which honestly I don't feel like is that much of a cost for her. It's not. There's nothing else for it to kill right now, but it does make his Planeswalkers more likely to survive later on.
Yeah, the real cost is when the Planeswalkers start coming down, right? Like those. Ren 6 is a powerful Planeswalker because it costs 2 mana. But if this game goes on for a long time, Raja's Planeswalkers that do cost more mana are more powerful. So Ren is going to start to kind of fall behind those other Planeswalkers that Raja has access to as Katria Triumph is put into play. Not sure the total number of Triumphs that Raja plays, but I don't think he can keep doing this forever.
No, I suppose that's true. We can find out in a moment. But in the meantime, so yeah, she's picking up this Boseiju, which she can actually fire off again right now. She may want to wait until the mana clears from the first one. Yeah, okay, here is the Archmage's Charm to draw.
And we may just be responding to that. Like, okay, yeah, here's 1 mana, blow up your Rafine's Tower. All right, we can keep doing this. We're just going to keep blowing up the lands. And I mean, this does put some pressure on Raja. I mean, he doesn't have infinite lands. If she's just doing this every turn, eventually Raja's going to have to like take some action, or it's going to start becoming Stone Rain.
Yeah, I can tell. I'm counting up, looking at the deck list here. The Triumph count appears to be 3. So, yeah, so we
did see him grab a shock land here. I mean, he's out of Triumphs.
So this is, this is a plan that Jesse must have, she and Andrew may have come up with this beforehand that Raja's deck may be vulnerable if she draws the right sequence combination of cards to go after the mana base here.
Yeah, the thing is too, like if with Jesse not really having a whole lot going on, it doesn't even really cost her a lot to start doing this.
All right, here is Teferi.
Archmage's Charm notably drew 2 cards. Like the Ragavan was still on Jesse's side of the battlefield, so instead of taking it, chose to draw 2 cards and then deploy Teferi, bouncing the Ragavan.
All right, so we know that there's options here now for Jesse for sure. Dash Ragavan can take out Teferi. It could also just attack Raja because Ren 6 can take out the Teferi if she's willing to go off of her land destruction.
It does attack Raja. Look at that.
Yeah. Okay, finds a land.
Flipped off the top.
Yeah. Finds another treasure. So now, does she recur the Boseiju or go after the Teferi? She also has Unholy Heat, so there's other options for dealing with Teferi.
I have to imagine dealing with Teferi seems pretty free. Not that you interact on the counterspell axis that much anyway, but just getting it off the board like eliminates some of the tricks that Raja has, and eventually it'll be worth another card, more tempo and the things like that. So it's just a very low cost to really do. Like blowing up Raja's lands, there's no rush to do that. Like you're doing it because it's somewhat free to do while you're sitting here going through more or less a failed draw. Like we don't have a ton going on. We're not really close to comboing until we draw Breach. So we're just kind of weathering the storm as we see a Giganta picked up as well. 2 treasures available for Jesse. Just accumulating resources so that when we do draw something like Underworld Breach, we're good to go. But the Ren Boseiju stuff, there's no rush on it. There's no real, that 1 turn cycle of activation, not what's going to make the difference in this game, most likely.
All right, so one Solitude got flipped by Ragavan. Raja does have another one in hand alongside other options. So that is a way to get rid of Ragavan if it does venture into the combat zone again next turn. That does also take all his mana for the turn. And yeah, Jesse is doing, more than one thing a turn so far. And Raja is not.
I mean, Planeswalkers certainly help with that, but yeah, this is kind of part of the power too of these decks that accumulate a lot of mana, but all their spells are very cheap. You can do a lot of game actions per turn as long as your cards are doing things like replacing themselves and what have you. And Ragavan does do some of that. Ren does some of that in somewhat unconventional ways. None of these cards strictly say draw a card on it, but do accumulate more resources in their own right. Mm-hmm. So Jesse taking all these game actions, it's hard to hate her position, but it's undeniable that Raja's hand is powerful.
Mm-hmm. All right, Raja's rethinking this breeding pool, and maybe he looks over at Jesse. She's like, yeah, okay, sure.
Yeah, I mean, he has a basic island in hand. No game actions were taken. He was more or less, he could just be revealing it as Solitude is now available. No life paid with Raja's life total down to 14. Maybe he begins to become a consideration. As we see expressive iteration in Jesse's hand. That was a good one. If she decides to go for the Ragavan attack again, and that requires that Raja make a move, then the iteration is going to be unchecked. And then maybe we can even assemble a kill this turn, finding something like Underworld Breach.
Well, I suppose that's possible. Alternatively, she could lead on iteration because then Raja would either have to let this go or, not have Solitude. It's just going to resolve. This turn's already basically a win for Jesse. If she's getting iteration and she's activating Ren at 6, I mean, Raja's not going to do anything that compares. What's he going to draw 2 at best? I mean, that's not really. I mean, he's falling behind on the board.
Yeah, able to keep up with card advantage is Jesse for the time being. Like I said, that will change if some of these powerful planeswalkers end up entering the mix in some way or another. But for the time being, Jesse's doing a great job keeping pace, and even I'd say getting ahead. She's certainly ahead on board. As Ren going to go ahead and pick the Boseiju back up. Emery hit the Exile Zone. That one does cost 1 mana thanks to Grinding Station and our 2 treasures that we see there next to the Ren. And here comes Dash Ragavan. And we'll see if Raja wants to make a move here. If he does Solitude in combat, that Emery may start to look unchecked with a Bobble already in graveyard. That one's certainly problematic.
Yeah, this is a lot of stuff Jesse's presenting here for Raja to have to deal with. And she's going to continue to take down. I mean, we saw her pick up Boseiju again. I mean, these Leyline Bindings are about to cost 4. That is not the plan when you when you sign up for this deck. When you construct this mana base, you're planning on playing 1 or 2.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's part of the reason for playing these triomes, having these lands that enter tapped. And Jesse's done a good job of spending her, I'll say, off time, her extra mana, her extra resources that she has, just kind of downgrading some of Raja's cards. And that could very much matter here as Raja more or less flush with spells, but not flush with mana, as Dress Down happening as we enter combat.
Okay.
The classic Dress Down plus Dash Ragavan.
All right, so Dress Down is in here. This will also make Emery not mill when Jesse chooses to cast it, which she presumably will anyway. So
with the Bobble still in the yard, I'm sure she'll cast it.
Yeah, but this does allow.
Does still get the cost reduction though. Is not a creature. It's like just a card. Is not a creature yet in play. So Dress Down, and we're gonna Boseiju the Dress Down still before attacks. I love this.
That's aggressive because unlike the other Boseiju activations, this one is going to give Raja a free land. Well, maybe.
Yeah, we're thinking. I'm not sure how we can interact with Channel. Notably, one of the harder things to interact with, but maybe he wants to do something before the creatures are unlocked once again. Let's see exactly how we're going to navigate this. I really like these little tricks. I mean, if you're talking to me about how I expected this matchup to play out, I expected a lot of the marquee cards to be involved. Things like Underworld Breach fights, things like Urza's Saga fights, fights over Ren. But Ren hasn't really been able to do too much. I mean, I don't want to underestimate what's going on with this Boseiju right now, but overall, I mean, compared to the things you could do with, Sagas, I think it's certainly a power tick down. And Jesse's doing a really good job kind of leveraging the little pieces of value on cards like Boseiju and things like, and Broker's Charm flipped. And we can cast that one right away if we want 2 cards. Does cost 3 mana, and you lose your ability to do Emery, but not if we spend our turn playing Wooded Foothills.
Yeah, not with another land coming here. No, Jesse will continue to be able to play everything. All right, Steam Vent's fetched up. So yeah, it could still be Emery plus Broker's Charm if she wants. And
that's a great turn.
It is. I mean,
expressive iteration. Managed to get a hit in with Ragavan. Activated Ren is going to be able to play Emery and still have a draw to with all of this mana. I mean, this is an incredible use of mana.
Yeah, this is really good. I mean, it was a good turn for Raja also. I mean, he got a 2-for-1 on Dress Down. He basically played Growth Spiral for free there. And here is Emery's going to find Solitude, which he's able to hardcast.
Subtlety.
Yeah.
Hardcast Subtlety for Raja. See where she wants this. Yeah. Well, none of these modes say counter a Subtlety, right? Destroy enchantment, draw 2 cards, and a creature gets plus a power and fights. Okay, yeah, that's not it. I'll put the Emery on top, says Jesse. That one's still going to be a problem next turn like it is this turn.
Jesse's reading Broker's Charm. Let's go ahead and bring that up on the screen if anyone else is unfamiliar with exactly how it works. It is going to be cast here.
And I believe that's the first mode there. I believe we gave Ragavan +1/+0, and then until end of turn, and then it deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. So that was the mode used there to pick off the subtlety with that Ragavan, and then Ragavan went back to hand. So a nice use of resources there. Didn't really interested in the 2 cards. Wanted to keep pressure off of her Wrenn, which I think is really smart. And I imagine we're going to see Boseiju, if nothing else, Boseiju picked up and start to go after this Castle Vantress. That's like part of Raja's plan, I'm sure, to get ahead while still holding up mana. Yeah, we've seen Jesse do a ton of things each turn, though, so I'm sure it starts with Ragavan and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, sure does.
Going after Castle first will be interesting because then Raja will be forced to, not that he's likely to play it anyway this turn. This is going to be, here's a Solitude, hard cast. But Jesse's got, so Ragavan goes down.
But that was a ton of resources spent by Raja just answering some of these like mopey creatures. Jesse, all spells left in hand. We see Bolt, Unholy Heat, Gigantha, Emery, all cards that I think are arguably fairly powerful on this board.
So Emery's going to cost 2 now because the treasures are all gone into the Broker's Charm.
No, we got a Mox Amber and a Grinding Station. Cost 1.
But where? Oh, I missed the Mox in the line pile. You're correct.
4 cards coming. Another Ragavan. There's the Saga, and that's a huge hit.
Yeah.
Waiting on that Wrenn is going to pay off big time as here comes Saga right into play. Yes, thank you, Jesse, wasting no time getting that one into play.
No, she was clearly looking for that. Didn't have to think about it at all. It showed up and her probably eyes lit up. I was like, yep, there we go. Right.
That is what the doctor ordered.
Yes, indeed.
And certainly why I'm sure she kept that Emery on top, because as soon as she can find a Saga at all, this Wrenn starts to turn up the heat in what it represents quite dramatically. What? I'm not sure what we're talking about here. No. Looks like she's tapping mana.
I think she's determining whether to use Unholy Heat or Lightning Bolt to take out the Solitude.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, there's a little bit of question. I think Bolt is the worst card, but we are close enough to winning on a life total race with Saga tokens that maybe there's some consideration to this Bolt going face. But I think Unholy Heat just representing clearing a huge Planeswalker is worth quite a bit more. Something like a Jace come down, uptick, you can clear that right away without having to do any kind of finagling stuff and letting Raja untap with Jace, because as we've seen multiple times, that is disastrous.
Okay, action has slowed down here.
Raja might have access to Counterspell, thinking about whether he wants to keep that pressure in play to pressure Wrenn. Still going to take multiple hits to take care of the Wrenn, but at least gets to start pressuring it. You got to start somewhere, and I think that's what Raja's thinking about. Is, are we going to try to just clear it with something like a eventually drawn, removal spell, or do we just going to have to try to get the Solitude going to work here? And Counterspell coming after Lightning Bolt, I think, makes a decision on that. And now Jesse has the decision if she wants to fire off the Heat as well. And I have to imagine if Raja's willing to counterspell Lightning Bolt, you probably want to fire off the other removal spell right now.
I agree. Sure does. Yeah. And so now hand size significantly depleted. Raja with 2 left, Jesse with just 1, but a lot of powerful card advantage permanents on the board versus Raja's board of just land.
I'll tell you what, watching Raja draw Archmage's Charm in this matchup, it has looked kind of underpowered in basically every opportunity. I think that's an interesting dynamic to this Temur Breach deck, is it doesn't feel like Archmage's Charm is very good against it, like it is good against things like Hammer and other decks in the format like that. Well, I think that's mattering quite a bit in this game.
I mean, we also saw, Jesse has generated a lot of card advantage, and Raja used instead of trying to steal the Ragavan, he just drew 2. And so it didn't impact the board again. And I feel like that's kind of been the issue, is that Raja has not, done anything to the board that Jesse's had to deal with, aside from putting out some Solitudes that she wanted to pick off. She did do that. And there is another one now. This Wrenn 6 threatening ultimate already. Saga's on the board.
Yeah, I mean, Wrenn a problem whether it ults or not. I mean, she just picked up, I think, she just picked up the Boseiju. She has Springleaf Drum in hand. Not really the one you want to draw, but has a Gigantha to check this Solitude. But even if, whatever, Wrenn can take a couple hits from this Solitude, even if you don't protect it, just picking up the Saga again and again is going to be very powerful.
All right, Springleaf Drum.
That's before she even draws Underworld Breach, the card the deck's named after.
Yeah.
Doing a good job once again, covering all angles. I'm going to win the fair plan. And you know what? If I ever draw Underworld Breach, I'm going to win the unfair plan too. So you better start figuring some stuff out, Raja, says Jesse, as a fetch and shock happens here, putting Raja down to 7 and representing maybe 2 cards coming for this Archmage's Charm.
Yeah, Archmage's Charm drawn empty-handed, but life total low enough now. I mean, this red 6, I mean, he has to deal with it anyway, but yeah, with the Lightning Bolt in the graveyard, just a few lands would be enough to finish Raja off here. So he's going to need a way to get through the construct that's going to try and block the
How about another Archmage's Charm?
Well,
looks like Counterspell Archmage's Charm to ferry the 3 cards. Normally pretty good 3 cards.
Yeah.
Kind of awkward here. Picking up Saga doesn't feel awesome. She hasn't made a construct yet, which is really, I think, the thing you'd like to be picking up.
No, but
make one in combat and block.
Right. Well, Raja can grab the construct, right? So that means that the Solitude can get through. He does have mana.
Yeah, then the construct's like a 1/1. Ren down tick takes care of it, and Jesse gets to pick it up, or she can just pick. I mean, it's just problems.
But it's better than Ren Ultimate.
True. Okay, fair. I guess that's step 1. And Raja agrees. Step 1 is keep Ren from ultimating, and Jesse says, I don't know. I'm willing to spend a construct keeping you from doing that, especially because it profitably blocks right now.
He's not even going to get it either.
Like, well, can't have that.
She can sacrifice it to Grinding Station. Yeah, so he doesn't even get it. It's just a removal spell. But still,
that's nice.
That's good enough, as at least he connects with the run at 6. So that problem is put off for a few turns. Even if even cost him some resources just to make that happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'd argue, a 3-mana spell just to answer a token from Jesse is not where you want to be, as here comes Teferi. Have to imagine that's returning something to hand. Saga looking to be the best target. Raja agrees. And passes the turn back. Counterspell up. No fight available thanks to Teferi. We'll see. I mean, Jesse just turn after turn doing a great job. And Beseju, not a spell. Able to activate that one right now. And if there's no lands for Raja to grab, Counterspell, not up. Well, there is Basic Island. Gonna grab that one.
There's plenty of lands in Raja's deck. We are out of Triomes or 3-color lands.
How many shock lands do we have left? We got 2 Breeding Pools in play, 2 Hollowed Fountains. I feel like we're beginning to run low.
All right, let's
here comes Beseju back to hand.
There are 2 Breeding Pools and 2 Hollowed Fountains in the deck.
Yeah, so, I think Raja has a lot of lands.
All right. Let's get a count on the rest.
It's starting to get nasty.
There's 3 islands. There's 1 plains. So
we have 1 island left. It looks
like. Okay, then this is really starting to take his toll. Now he's got some lands he could live without, certainly at this point.
For sure. I mean, he's got plenty, right?
Yeah. But he probably won't be. At this point, his land total will probably be decreasing as the game progresses, and he won't be able to replace any colors. Here's Counterspell and Giganta.
Counterspell answering Giganta is nice, but once again, Solitude can't take care of the Ren, and token production is back online for Urza Saga as early as next turn, and that's still a problem. So despite Raja doing a good job of kind of treading water, he really needs a big top deck, something like a Jace the Mind Sculptor, or I don't know, any kind of way to get any kind of card advantage going.
He needs to get this Ren off the board. Because this Beseju thing that we're kind of giggling about is going to start mattering over the next, that's still going to take a few turns. And she may actually be preoccupied doing other things at this point.
Looks like Dress Down and maybe Odawara. The 2 cards, Dress Down a big one. That does clear constructs.
Yeah. I mean, the life total, Jesse at 13. So it's hard to imagine Roger's going to prioritize attacking her instead of. Like, all right, let me
Roger, all right, what can you blow up? Stop it. Stop blowing my stuff up. And at one point too, Joe, and this is a real long shot, but I mean, Jesse's just under so little pressure. Is there a chance that Grinding Station just like milieu the fairway is ever on the table?
I mean, that's not something I've seen happen, but I suppose it's possible. I don't know. I don't see it.
Okay. All right. I mean, there's a lot of cards that Raja's churning through. Lands getting out of the deck with Beseju, cards being drawn with Archmage's Charm. Eventually, deck count's going to be...
If she milled Raja and the island flipped over, that would be relevant. I will grant that, but that's fairly unlikely. Here we go. Kahira being rebought.
So this
allows another point of damage to come through on Ren, probably.
I think it gives vigilance, too. Not entirely
it does. Relevant. Yeah, no, it does. Certainly relevant in the future. Raja may be attacking Jesse. He's thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, Jesse to 13 and Ren not dying to this attack makes it fairly appealing to start turning the corner and being like, all right, this Ren is annoying, but I'm just tired. I'm tired of playing this game. I need to get you dead, and I can put you to dead on board with this attack. So we'll see exactly what he decides to do. Kind of hard to get confirmation when cards have vigilance, because normally, people turn it sideways and point with the card or whatever, but here you just kind of, visualize or verbalize rather what you're going to be doing. And it looked like Jesse. I think I saw
No, it
finger
was
pointed at Jesse.
Indeed. So she'll drop to 9. Raja up to 14, which doesn't matter too much, but
and if you're Jesse Robkin, I think that couldn't be a louder signal that I have an answer to your token.
Yeah, perhaps. All right, Boseiju takes out a tapped breeding pool for an untapped island. So Raja turns on Archmage Charm if he's got one. And Jesse picks up Boseiju again. She is obviously selected her plan of attack this game.
Let's see exactly what else she can assemble. I think she needs a little bit more. I was incorrect. I think Kiera's only a 3-power creature. Salted only a 4-power creature. So going to be too shy of killing Jesse this turn is Raja. But the tokens can be cleared by that dress down we know about basically at any point.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Saga thing is going to start to look too slow. But honestly, I mean, based on the composition of Raja's hand, Jesse's now in the territory where we haven't seen a single Underworld Breach through all of these cards so far. The second she draws one, I have to imagine it's game over.
Yeah, but that's probably true. But she doesn't have too many seconds left. I mean, this has been... Now, this Ready, like when the Ready 6 could have picked off the Teferi, now hasn't mattered yet that she didn't do it, and maybe it won't, but it's building back up in loyalty. And Raja is, let's see, what's he got to play with here?
We may be thinking about bouncing Urza's Saga, forcing the action now, then dress down proactively. I don't think that changes much. See exactly what he's trying to do here, but I imagine this is a Channel Otawara. We do have a legendary creature in play, so it does only cost 3. And yeah, that one's going to go after the Urza's Saga, which is going to get activated. Here comes a Construct, only a 3/3.
I don't know. I think Raja is constructing a line here, and there's a Teferi. That's nice as well. Doesn't necessarily even
Time Raveler?
need it this turn.
So do you play the second one, cash out the card, get rid of the creature right away, or do you use the dress down and forego gaining life and having vigilance and stuff like that?
I mean, maybe you play the dress down and then play the Teferi and bounce the dress down because you need more. I mean, you're finding another counterspell would be nice for Raja. You'd be a lot safer,
right?
Is Raja?
Maybe it changes if you draw one, and here comes Teferi, number 2. So the legend rule out the first one.
Raja knowing that there aren't any more fetchable lands left in his deck at this point. So leaving the basics untapped so they're guaranteed to be available, not get picked off by Boseiju.
Yeah. And we do know Jesse has Boseiju available, so maybe that interrupts part of like the dress down plan, like picking it back up, not really something you can do. Boseiju does still work underneath the Teferi protection.
You're right.
So now, we might just be doing it all. Just draw more cards. Like what Roger's thinking about here, of course, has to be the Boseiju. Jesse really can't have any other responses. Let's see if he wants to go to combat first. He does attack. Keeping vigilance, so attack first, but during attacks and after the attacks before blocks, we're going to go ahead and do the dress down thing. Creature stay untapped, life not going to be gained, and a little bit of a smaller attack, but is going to be the play here, and that's going to clear that construct out of the way. We'll no longer have the text that gives it power and toughness, so the 0/0 will go to the graveyard, and a card will come for Raja's trouble. Not leaving Hall of Fountain untapped as a respect to Boseiju, so going to keep the islands untapped. Those work because there are no more fetchables, so if he wants to draw Archmage's Charm and have it work, he needs to leave up the islands.
All right, Teferi bounce. Does he pick up dress down? Yeah,
I think so.
All right, and okay, there is a Boseiju.
She's going to respond. Yeah, I like that. Prevent that card draw.
All right, so that was
land found.
Let's see, how much damage came across there? 6, because this Solitude lost its boost. Jesse appears to have drawn a land, and Jesse appears to be dead.
Yeah, Jesse to 3. This looks dead. And Raja maybe kind of getting away with one here. No other breach drawn across the entire game.
Yeah, Raja may have grabbed a game here that he certainly took less game actions, did less things, but Jesse unable to stabilize the board, and this Solitude plus Kahira may be enough.
So we have a judge pausing the game. Looks like we're talking about Boseiju here a little bit. But either way, I mean, I think the writing is more or less on the wall. I don't really know what we're talking about here, but like I said, the writing more or less on the wall. And Raja chose this format. And I mean, you're never really going to get any free rides when you're talking about the finals of the NRG championship event. These are, two star-studded players, very, very talented in what they do. But, it did feel closer than comfort would allow, I think, for Raja. Fair.
I don't know. I think I have some people that are rooting for me. I think I have people that would rather wish anyone else was in this chair than us. But that's okay. We're happy to have you here too. If you're watching on mute, that's fine also. Plus, you're not hearing what we're saying anyway. That's okay too. All right, opening hands being drawn for game number 2 of match 1.
Jesse, gonna take a look first. Raja. All right. I'm not even making this. I'm not even gonna look at it to make a decision. That hand looks really good.
Yeah.
Maybe not. I didn't see it go like look at the lands. I saw Veil of Summer Expressive Iterations. It's hard to hate those cards. I wish I could have seen more of the hand, but Jesse hates it either way. Raja hates his even faster, so we're shuffling back up for mulligans. Yeah, I think that brings up a good point too, is what are we looking for? Is Jesse, interested on the play here, just firing off that turn 1 Ragavan with Raja really wanting to develop his mana with tap lands?
I mean, that's certainly reasonable. It's tough. Jesse had a pretty good start last game. I think all things considered, Ragavan into Ren at 6, and it wasn't enough. So
yeah, I feel like she was drawing live to like Underworld Breach through. I mean, all of that mid game to just immediately went on the spot, and she just never really saw it, but did a great job treading water with her strong start. And Raja had to come back from behind, hoping that Jesse would brick on quite a few draw steps, and she certainly did.
Yeah, but the cards I'm looking for, if I'm in Jesse's seat, I think I want Ragavan, I want Emery. I want Ren in 6. If I don't have one of those, and if I have interactive cards, I can do better. At least on 7 cards. I want to be something.
Absolutely.
I want to be on the board. I want to get underneath the counter magic. I don't want to have Spell Pierce, Veil of Summer, and some lands. That's not good enough, I don't think.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with you there as well. As the players get a look at another one, there is a Ragavan. I see a red land. We'll see if that's good enough for Jesse to want to keep. Expressive Iteration also among the mix.
That's nice. 2 Unholy Heats. That's not great, but she does have the privilege of dumping one of them. So there you go. That hand becomes more keepable. We didn't see any of Raja's hand, or at least I didn't.
I see a little bit of it now. Prismatic Ending is going to do a good job covering. We do see a Hollowed Fountain to be able to power that one out, not relying on a tap land for white mana. I think that's a big game as well. Putting another land on bottom, as here comes the very powerful turn 1 Monkey Ragavan Nibble Pilfer. Immediately answered, of course, with Prismatic Ending.
Putting the basic on the bottom also is nice, because if Jesse takes the same approach this game as she did last game, Raja's going to want those as many fetchable lands at the bottom of the deck as possible.
Yeah, I think so too.
That was
I wonder the decision here is whether to deploy Saga or wait a turn. How quickly do we want to get on the Saga plan? Especially knowing, Raja has Ray of Revelations. If he just has one of those dialed up right now, then your land just gets stone rained, and that is a disaster, I feel like, for Jesse.
Yeah, that would be hard to recover from, I think, even already on turn 2. But we'll see. I wonder if the approach Jesse took with Boseiju shooting the lands, I wonder if that's something that Raja anticipated as being a possibility, or if that caught him by surprise as it began and developed over the course of the middle of last game.
Yeah, not entirely sure. It's certainly something he had to take into consideration. We saw him, adjust his tapping for mana multiple times just to it. So if nothing else, it was at the very least an annoyance as Jesse deploys 3rd land, no play, representing, of course, the activation on Urza's Saga. Some consideration potentially to fetching now. That way, if there is a Ray of Revelation involved, you can't fetch to activate on the end step and then get caught still with the Stone Rain. But I think if Raja had it already, it would have been fired off. So maybe not really worth your time. Can think about how you want to sequence your mana. As Raja fetches a Spara's Headquarters tapped.
It's tough to spend like multiple turns on construct creation when it's so easy for Raja to clean them all up. But I still think it's probably worth doing every time for Jesse.
Yeah, using your mana on something uncounterable is just so appealing, because like Raja, it's no secret, his hand's full of, his deck's full of counterspells, his hand's probably full of counterspells, and that's definitely the case right now. Counterspell, Archmage's Charm, Dovin's Veto, all cards included in his current hand setup. And even if he goes to deploy something like a Teferi, it's like, okay, end step, make a token, make another token, attack your Teferi. That doesn't feel great. Yeah,
now we could also see if the Pithing Needle came in, which I don't know that there's a guarantee that it would have, but it could come in named Teferi Time Raveler here, which would be relevant now since Raja does have one. But I don't know that that's something that Jesse would really be interested in over the sum total of all possible games play out. How relevant is Pithing Needle for her? I'm not sure about that.
I'm not sure either. And I don't know. I really don't know who it's more important for as well to like use their mana every turn. Like Jesse's cards are in general cheaper. And so I would initially say Raja, but at the same time, like Raja has spells that are just so powerful that like using mana isn't necessarily what he's about. I don't know. It's tough. And we see Urza Saga being ticked up to 3. Gonna see if she's gonna make a token here. Jesse wants to make a token or wants to fold some mana. We saw her do multiple spells a turn very effectively with the help of Ren and 6 hitting all of her land drops in game number 1. Did not ultimately convert to a victory, though, as here comes a second construct and a search.
All right. Is there another green source in Jesse's hand? There's a Veil of Summer, although that's not as relevant since she clearly doesn't have any intentions of casting much this turn. But it could still
stuff like an Archmage's Charm Steel or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. It also, even if Teferi gets cast for Raja, Jesse could respond. At least it can't bounce a token that turn. That still basically guarantees that Teferi dies. So having green mana available, even if there's nothing to have countered, is still relevant.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Let's see if Springleaf Drum is the find. It's pulled to the front, but Shadow Spear the find instead.
All right. So that is certainly a more aggressive leaning option. Worse in the face of Dress Down, but if Raja doesn't have one, then maybe these tokens can really get to work here.
Yeah, we can look at the very powerful equipment. On release, I think it didn't quite get the fanfare it needed. Saw a little bit of play in sideboards just as like a aggro matchup breaker, but with the printing of Urza Saga has exploded into multiple formats now. Just the ability to equip your tokens, make yours both bigger, and win the life point swing thanks to that lifelink. Huge boon for all the Urza Saga decks, and of course the ability can come up sometimes.
How rough is that for burn players? I mean, you don't even. Not only did they have now they get a life link equipment, but you don't even have to draw it. It's so rough, as if
they should tutor up this matchup breaking single card. Yeah, I mean, I feel like it has to be rough, but thankfully, I mean, Burn usually plays stuff like Smash the Smithereens and what have you to stop that. And with this land drop, here is an Archmage's Charm to draw 2 cards. So she still has Veil of Summer up. She did not need to grab the Springleaf Drum in order to keep that up. So that's going to be a big part of the thing. And no attack from Jesse. Also fairly interesting.
Wow, you're right. That is interesting. So playing around Endurance Hardcast?
Endurance Hardcast, Archmage's Charm Steel. I feel like there's a few things that could go wrong.
Archmage's Charm Steel you would want to play into right now because she has Veil of Summer.
Yeah, but that may not be what you actually want to have to Veil of Summer. Veil of Summer at a premium in this matchup at, allowing you to force through some really important cards. And if you feel kind of more or less taxed into just using it on the first thing, that may not be where Jesse wants to be.
Maybe. I'm not sure I agree with you there because that would you're basically Time Walk Raja in the process. Okay, there goes a token, there gets dropped by Prismatic Ending. And also, it's no guarantee. Like if Teferi comes down, this Veil of Summer is not going to do anything. So I feel like I would be willing to, cash it in basically at a reasonable opportunity. And carrying Archmage Charm counts as far as I'm concerned.
Sure. Well, either way, Jesse fetching here on end step, and no Teferi deployed either. So these players on a level here that I'm not totally sure what's going on. But what I can tell you is that Jesse still has 1 construct left over, Shadow Spear in play, and is fetching a land, most likely going to be tapped. Not sure how many more shock lands are left in her list, but I think if she wants mana development to be as good as possible, every land here producing red, and shock land is what she needs.
Also, planning using Veil to stop Archmage's Charm. If Raja's now had 2 opportunities in this match to steal something, and has chosen to draw cards both times, so he may not even be looking to potentially run into something like Veil of Summer here.
I think so too. I think that's a big part of how Raja's navigated this game. I mean, obviously, Raja, control master, is no stranger to being Veil of Summered. I'm very confident in that. And, as we play these games, he does a good job playing around it and kind of understanding that Archmage's Charm, the 2 cards you're going to draw for Archmage's Charm are probably going to be better than whatever, the effect of you stealing something is in general. So might just be the ability you want to activate anyway as we equip Shadow Spear to the remaining construct token. Smackdowns.
All right. That's
gets through.
Yeah. that is not an especially impressive turn for Jessie, but it does get things going, and maybe she'll benefit in the future turns for having the Shadow Spear already equipped.
I mean, she has all her cards up, right? She has
Yeah.
Unholy Heat still represented, still has Veil of Summer going on, has pressure in play. Like, no real sense overextending into things and letting Raja assemble some kind of mana efficient turn where he gets to cast multiple spells, answer the things, and you're kind of left on empty. Whereas you could just kind of keep your hand close to your chest, develop your mana, and as long as you're developing mana, you could eventually just beat Raja on mana efficiency in a pretty important turn. But Teferi may start to complicate matters, as here is the powerful Planeswalker Jessie. Immediately shuffling some cards around. Veil of Summer going to be deployed. That one will replace itself, Teferi being blue, and will prevent the construct from being bounced. We'll see if Rogers has any interest in stopping that from happening.
I feel like he might. Yeah, he might just burn off the Dovin's Veto here or whatever other counter he has, because getting this construct off the board is certainly the reason.
It could be really relevant.
Yeah.
It seems like Raja agrees. Grabbing an untapped basic here seems to signal either veto or counterspell. I think he has the option of both. Counterspell probably the better one to deploy. Chooses veto instead. Less flexible. Takes care of the Veil of Summer. Get rid of your construct. Thank you. Card coming. Land. Fine. Not great. Draw from Jessie is Boseiju. All
right. Well, we saw a lot of action with Boseiju last game. We're going to see iteration here, I would imagine. Yeah.
You have to imagine that one's.
Yeah.
Definitely time to cast that one. Your board has been answered. The onus is on you to produce more good things. Land, Fable of the Mirrorbreaker, and Mox Amber. The cards. Fable, pretty appealing. The rest of them, not super exciting. Fable going to hand.
Yeah, that's in there. I don't think it's tough to. Okay.
It was the top card. Whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters. I think she picked up a 0-mana artifact anyway. Could just play it. I just don't know what really matters in that. Is land Fable going to be deployed? I guess if you want to deploy the artifact to the second chapter of Fable of the Mirrorbreaker, you may be very interested in keeping that one in hand. And that seems to be probably the reason Jessie did it that way. As we pass the turn back with a new Goblin Shaman token made. Thanks to Fable of the Mirrorbreaker, a somewhat new innovation. Card that has been making waves across basically every format it's legal in, now suddenly finding its appearance in Modern in this Breach deck.
Yeah. Fable of the Mirrorbreaker, super well-designed card, I think. I mean, on the pushing the bounds of Pioneer, but I think correctly not banned so far. But really cool card. Does a lot, gives a lot of play, puts a lot of stuff on the board, as we can see here. And
there's so much rate.
Yeah.
Like none of the things in and of themselves are like super game breaking, but just there's so much text on that card that eventually, something's going to matter. I don't know what chapter, what side, whatever is going to matter on this card, but no matter in the average game of Magic the Gathering you're going to play, some effect on that card is going to matter. As we get a look at Fable of the Mirrorbreaker, going back to Jessie's turn, made its 2/2 Goblin Shaman token on that first chapter already. Now up to chapter 2, get to discard up to 2 cards, draw the number of cards you discard. And then, of course, the third mode flips it to the non-legendary enchantment creature, Reflection of Kiki-Jiki. There's your backside there. Does kind of mimic Kiki-Jiki in effect. Able to pay 1 mana, tap it, and make a copy of a non-legendary creature. Sack of the next end step. As you mentioned, very nice card. I also agree. Very smartly not yet banned in Pioneer. Maybe will eventually, but not right now. And I don't even know if it will eventually. It's somewhat innocuous.
I don't think so. Well, we'll see when the new set drops in a few weeks. But I think Pioneer doesn't need a ban right now. I think they're wise to not do anything. All right, so we're out here. We're taking out Fairy Time Raveler.
Fairy could have attacked that with a Shaman token.
Could have,
maybe thinking that combat tricks may be on the table for Raja to keep the Teferi around.
I suppose there's the option of attacking first. If something happens, then you can Unholy Heat. But go ahead and equip again.
Now, when we were yapping, Jessie did discard, I believe, both the Boseiju and the Mox Amber. So got 2 new cards off the Fable. Didn't get a great look at those. As here comes a treasure with the newly equipped Goblin Shaman. Have to imagine if she's equipping and attacking, not a whole lot that Jessie intends to deploy this turn. But that doesn't necessarily mean any of the cards are weak. And yeah, we do see an Underworld Breach, and I think Heat number 2 and potentially even an Expressive Iteration available in hand. Really powerful cards. Maybe waiting for Raja to make a move before something like the Underworld Breach will slam the door on this game.
All right, so down to 7 here. This damage, I mean, while it's been rather insignificant pieces one at a time, it is adding up. And draw 2 from Raja here, finds a Solitude.
Notably electing to draw 2 cards over killing the Fable of the Mirrorbreaker.
Raja is flush with goodies.
Yeah, getting rewarded, I think, for all the 3-mana draw twos. And it is interesting. Kind of 3-mana draw two didn't used to really be a
Jesse have the
thing in
total to
Magic.
win with the
It
breach
looked
if
nice.
she manages to get one into play?
Yeah.
I'm not sure that she does, actually.
Not yet. The Amber allows you to keep going.
Well, a
And if
couple
you have enough
iterations,
mana,
if the
then you
mana
get
is available
to...
for it, can go a long way
Yeah.
towards catching you up.
Yeah. As Teferi is deployed here. That one potentially problematic. We know Jessie has another heat available to her. And if this just bounces the token, you can't really just clear it with the creature you have in
Teferi
play.
into play here. So Unholy Heat shut down for the turn. Well, I think I either lost Drake or Drake lost me.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I
at
think
this point.
I'm good. I think Joe
What
lost
happened?
me then. Dang.
But I'll stay with you as long as I'm...
Because I hear everybody as well.
Here.
Oh, no. Me?
Just figure this out.
I don't think he can hear you either. All right. Well, we're resolving some technical difficulties from Joe. I'm going to try to keep things going here. Joe may do some talking over me because I don't believe you can hear me right now.
Reflection does flip over. It does convert into... Yeah. Okay, it was me.
Yeah, all right. Joe's figured it out. We got Reflection, the Kikijiki flipping as Unholy Heat going to dispatch of the Teferi Time Raveler. Of course, not a hasty Kikijiki. Unlike Kikijiki itself, Reflection Kikijiki does not have haste, not able to pick off the Teferi, although we've seen Jessie be a little reluctant to try to beat the Teferis in combat, given how many combat tricks are available for Raja with so many cards in hand. All right, here comes Expressive Iteration. We'll see if Raja wants to bite on that. I don't think there's much downside to biting on that. It seems like Raja agrees because, I don't think we can assemble an Underworld Breach kill right now if Raja counters this. So this is certainly a good catch-up mechanic for Jessie to be able to use this Expressive Iteration and get both cards off. So her card's very cheap. Does choose to counterspell that one. 2 mana left over, and that's going to be an equip on Shadow Spear. In-step fetch from Raja does put him down to 6. Life total beginning to become a real factor, although I believe Raja has, a fair bit of interaction pieces left, using life total as a resource throughout most of this game. And back to Raja's untap. See exactly how Raja wants to sequence his turn. All of his cards work at instant speed. I imagine we're likely to see a land and a passing of the turn. And that is exactly what we see as we untap Jessie with 5 mana. Raja with all 8 mana untapped. Quite a bit. Probably more than he needs. And 2 mana. Gonna start with Underworld Breach. A bold statement of, hey, look, putting you to the test right now. Do you have any left? What's left in the tank, Raja? And Raja, reaching for mana, has something, and it is the Archmage's Charm we know about, which I think is the last piece of counter magic. 2 lands and a Solitude, the pieces left. Gonna counter the Underworld Breach. We'll see if there's any follow-up for Jessie. Raja nearly out of resources. Only a Solitude really left in the tank. We'll see exactly what Jessie wants to do about that. If she can do anything. I mean, she's spent a lot of resources. It might just be by Gigantha time. As Jessie takes a look at the graveyard, sees exactly what Raja has gone through. Gigantha, not worth a ton, but with Raja's life total getting very low, basically any creature could represent quite a bit. Now, that Solitude is going to do a lot to slam the door on any kind of winning via combat damage stuff that Jessie can do. And Underworld Breach, certainly, I think, a more scary card. Does she have another one? She has a second one, deploying it right now. 2 mana left over. What can we assemble with that? And yeah, Raja does the exact same look. You see him lean forward a little bit, look into the graveyard to see exactly what that's worth. Looks like the answer might just be some Expressive Iteration stuff. Can put Mox Amber into play. But with Reflection of Kikijiki not being legendary, does not yet make mana. And we are doing a big think. I think we're thinking on, once this one resolves, what we're going to do. And like I said, I think for Jesse, it has to start with expressive iteration. Yeah, we are going to tap 2 mana here, and there is expressive iteration. Have to escape 3 cards. Going to do that right now. Looks like land, and heat going away. Maintaining some of the cards that matter in the graveyard. Cards like Beseju, Mox Amber. You want to keep those in play, I think, or in your graveyard. As we resolve the first spell post Underworld Breach. That is expressive iteration. Red and 6 among the mix. Negate and potentially a land. I think we're short a second mana source to be able to actually cast Red and 6 right now. So we'll see how she wants to sequence these piles. Yeah, I think you need to play the land. And then you can actually go to combat with that Unholy Heat / Veil of Summer available. So that's what we're going to do. Underworld Breach still in play. Attacking for 3. It's going to put Raja, I believe, down to 3. Give Jesse a few more life points to work with. Not that Raja's really anywhere close to winning the game via life total quite yet. And we're going to play the Scalding Tarn and fetch right now. Let's see if there's anything we want to do second main. Maybe pulling the Mox Amber out of the graveyard is something that matters. I can see that potentially being the case, especially with Ren and 6 put into hand. Giving yourself a little bit more mana seems relatively free, but I don't think we're really going to be able to send any kind of kill here. And we'll have to see if Raja's going to finally pull the trigger on the Solitude after the Underworld Breach goes away in instep. That way it doesn't get immediately picked off by an Unholy Heat. Hey, Joe, welcome back. You are back. It's nice to have a co-commentator again. Oh, of course. Well, here's a Veil of Summer. Gonna go ahead and be cycled. I think that's really heads up from Jesse. Escape that. And there's a Mishra's Bauble. Actually, Mishra's Bauble's a big pickup. Now she can cash out that Bauble for a few more cards if she wants. And it looks like she wants. She's reaching for it very quickly.
All right, so it looks like I missed equip, attack, and then breach cantripping. All right.
Yeah, breach number 1 was attempted. Kind of failed to go off. Breach number 2 attempted, resolved an expressive iteration, among other things. Solitude, the last card left in hand for Raja, alongside a pair of lands. Likely waiting to pull the trigger on that one until Underworld Breach goes away at instep, I would guess.
All right, so it looks like Jesse is solidly got a handle on this game now.
I mean, yeah, the bobble was huge. I think she kind of just pulled herself a little bit ahead, but as soon as she hit that bobble off that Veil of Summer, I mean, things started to heat up very quickly because she's going to have a couple extra cards coming here, and you see her reaching for those right away.
And Raja's down to 3, so a Bolt is a live draw here to end the game.
Well, Solitude is going to be able to attack, put Raja up to 6. And then we're going to need 2 bolts. But certainly life total becoming a factor. Hey, make that 7.
Yeah.
Kira bought and added to the mix.
All right, so maybe Raja has the same idea. Well, doesn't want to get burned out here.
I do think that is the case.
And you're saying that Raja's remaining cards aren't so hot in hand, so...
Don't think so. I didn't get a great look at what the draw step was, but going into that turn of Jesse's, his hand was 2 lands, Archmage Charm, Solitude, and used both spells. It looks like maybe another Solitude. Like I said, didn't get a great look at what the pickup for the turn was. As we go back to Jesse, see what she has. You get a great look at that either. Looks like land, Ren, among other cards. Ren being able to pick up Saga could be good. However, there's suddenly a reasonable attack force on Raja's side of the field.
Yeah, at least one Unholy Heat for Jesse, though. So she can clean up her choice of creatures. It is a Solitude, so it goes down. So now the Ren 6 Plus will now survive a turn.
Yeah, Ren and 6 being able to survive a turn is really big. Be able to get Saga to start.
No Delirium, maybe.
No Delirium. Oh, no. Solitude getting the buff from Kahira. No Delirium, only enchantment, land, artifact as the 3 types means that Heat not going to be very good. Now, we can just use the Ren to do the last point, but I don't really think that's how you want to use it.
No, that will... I mean, it's almost, a forced play at this point, but yeah, losing access to Urza Saga to be on the board this turn, and yeah, this is Jesse's going to be kicking herself over this one.
Yeah, it's tough.
Because the rest
I'm not sure.
The leftovers in her hand don't look exciting either.
No, they do not. I mean, I think I saw like Springleaf Drum. I saw Ren and 6, which is kind of exciting, but now somewhat priced into just almost immediately dying.
Yeah.
And yeah, it looks like a land is the other card. So we'll see if she is going to kind of pivot to trying to pick off that last point from Solitude instead of picking up the Saga. It's actually still, I think, a tough decision.
I mean, well, given that she already played a land for the turn, I feel like it's getting Saga now is too late.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, then I think the down tick may just be where we have to land. And then, I mean, like I said, I didn't think Raja's leftovers were too exciting. So we might just end up in a top deck war. Now, I think Jesse could have maybe been in a better position, but it's not disastrous. This game's not just over right now as a result. But I don't.
Okay. Well,
Aether Gust take care of Ren anyway, so maybe it never actually mattered. And now Raja gets to untap with all of the creatures. Once again, did not get a good look at the draw. Maybe another Aether Gust. Here comes an attack for 7. Put Jesse down to 11.
11 is a pretty significant number. If you're right about it being Solitude Aether Gust, then that's a lethal attack next turn.
Yeah, I'm not sure right now. Here is Gigantha, picked up a long time ago, now being deployed. Can actually put, here we go, put Shadow Spear on that to make attacking very much a dead end for Raja without getting that one off the board. But if Raja has either Aether Gust or Solitude at the ready, that one just goes away basically whenever he feels like it.
And if he has both, she's just dead because the Solitude adds 4 power to the board. There's 7 there now. And Aether Gust to take out Gigantha and put it on top of the deck. So let's see if he decides... Well, there's not really free interaction in Jesse's deck, so if those are his cards, he can just go for this. So maybe he doesn't have one or both of those cards in hand.
All right, we'll see exactly what's going to happen here. Going to consult the graveyard. I think we may be thinking about various numbers of cards in deck. Yeah, looking at the sideboard too, seeing how many of each effect are left. I have to imagine if it was just a kill right now that we would be doing that.
Yeah.
So... I can only assume that Raja does not have a removal spell right now to Gigantha. Do we have maybe a Cycle Triome available? No. Endurance picked up. All right.
Well, you're right about the Aether Gust. There it is. So get Gigantha out of here.
Gust.
And it's going to go to the bottom. So there's the problem with the different colored sleeve. As if there's a shuffle, judges are going to make her change that sleeve out.
The location's known, not actually relevant yet, but may not matter at all. Didn't get. Oh, Emery. Emery's a draw.
Emery with Shadow Spear. No, that's something.
And I think a Ragavan as well.
All right,
got some cards that can block. Yeah, and here, and even just blocking for turns is fine as long as Roger's having more counter spells in the tank, because Jesse can start to look to draw Underworld Breach yet again. I think she's been through 2 of them. It looks like draw an Underworld Breach and then just propel herself into finding a win somehow with that.
All right, it's going to be Dash Ragavan. Was that hard? Yeah, it is dashed. Okay, so here it goes.
Dash Ragavan. With cash out on the lifelink as soon as possible.
Ouch.
Endurance. That one's not great.
Okay.
And I think Jesse just wanted to pick it up with Underworld Breach no longer being an out. I think that we are very much done here. You just lose the Ragavan, die on board to the creatures, and very much kind of